Hey guys, Shift Happens with Bunny. I'm Bunny Holston. I am the HR Director for Promise Resource Network. And we're going to spend just a few minutes this morning or this afternoon, whatever time that you're watching it, and allow some folks to come in and be with us in our class today. This is the last day of the series of Shift Happens. Let me get comfortable here. You see, y'all can listen to me run my mouth. I love this topic. This is one of my favorite topics. I used to do this live pre-COVID. So now I do it like the rest of the world. I do it virtually. And the title of it is Shift Happens, because this is real life. This is reality. And this is how our mind works. We are constantly shifting. And so that's and the topic today is joy, happiness, contentment. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Again, I want to wait for some folks to tap in, but I do want you, it's kind of new. If I'm going to talk about a couple of things at the very beginning. This is the information for our warm line. It's free. It's non-crisis. It's 24/7. And it's manned by some powerful peer support specialists. So if there is a need, a want, got to talk to somebody right now, pick up the phone and talk to us. And if there's the number, I'll let that stay up here for just a minute. It's 833, it's toll free, 833-390-7728. And if you need to get in touch with anybody within PRN, maybe it's not crisis, maybe you just want to be attached to a peer support specialist here, or any other thing you need to get in touch with a person, just have questions, employment, anything, you can also call our front desk, which is being manned by our infamous Kim Porter, and she's available Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30. Now I'll go back here and find my little stuff here. This is all really cool. Well, it would be cool if I could find it. There we go. So we're back to Shift Happens again. So that's what we're going to talk about. Hey, Eric. Oh, my goodness. Good morning, sunshine to you. Always love to have you with me. So today's topic is something catchy, probably one of those earworms. It's joy, joy, joy. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is that joy, that inner contentment, that inner happiness, and shifting our mind to get to that point. And you know, when somebody asks me, and I have to answer, that causes me a little bit of angst. Are we truly content? And being content is enjoying where you are now. We're so focused on what we do want, futuristic, what the goal is, that we forget to stay in the now. We don't appreciate what we have. We can learn to be content. But that is a choice that we have to constantly make to be happy, constantly have to get joy in our being, in our every nuance of our everyday life, is to incorporate that within how we motivate ourselves in life. Today is so pretty outside. It's so gorgeous. And it's easy to find that happiness and that contentment when it's gorgeous outside. So today we're going to talk about some of those things and building that resilience bank of what we call life, when life doesn't look like it looks like today and it becomes very scary. And how do we build that resilience and pull into that bank of what's going to get us through? However, I feel like for me, I have more growth in my challenging times than I do when everything's going so smoothly. Because I think in the challenging times, we pull those reserves out. We pull those coping skills out. We find out what we're really made of. And when you get through those challenging times and get to the other side, you sit back and you reflect on what brought me through. What did I use? What are the tools? Because I want to make sure that I remember what brought me through this situation. So the next valley I hit, I'll be able to utilize those same tools and that same resilience. One of the things that I talk about quite often in these classes is the power of our mind. And the ability, even within our subconscious and within our mind, how powerful it is that we can set the tone of our day, set how we'll react in situations. What I love to watch, I love to watch in the Olympics or any not any sport. I don't like to watch a whole lot of sports, but the Olympics I love to watch. And the Summer Olympics. And what I love watching about that is the concentration of individuals' minds or faces when they are setting up and prepping themselves to compete, whether at the running block or they're diving off of the diving board. The intense look and what their inner voice is telling them. And they are so focused on what's going on in here because they recognize that this has so much power. It can be something as powerful as going from a silver to a gold, because that's where it's always planted. Even watching basketball, when I don't know a whole lot about sports, but when they're doing the free throw, right? I guess I don't have anybody here to go, no, that's not right. But the concentration on that athlete's mind as he's aiming and setting himself up to make that goal. I love watching that. I love to learn about people who have gone through some of the most horrific things and have survived and have pulled through that resilience. And it's what Eric said, that those inner arsenals, those inner tools of how they got through what they got through and where they are today. That fascinates me about people, because that's where their resilience and their strength and their power and their happiness and their joy. Right now in life, we can focus on the discontent, or we can focus on the being content where we are, content and happy, and have that joy. We have to recognize, and I talk a lot about this in these classes too, that we can't necessarily change the situation. We had a class before last that focused on things that we can change. And sometimes we have to let that situation change us, but we still have the control. What I can kind of compare that control for me is driving my car and being the only one in my car. because I get to go where I want to go. I get to drive the way I want to drive. I get to listen to whatever music I want to listen to. I can have it whatever temperature I want. And that's my control in the car. When I'm by myself, I have the luxuries of being able to make those decisions. If I want to take the scenic route or I want to take a highway. But I kind of relay that to the choices that I can make in my own life because I have that control. I have that control of where I want to go, what I want to listen to, what the temperature is. So I'm a very visual person, so I always like to use a visual that kind of helps me pull things back and shift them back into my circle of influence and that control. But we're talking a little bit right now about discontentment. Discontentment can follow us wherever we go unless we learn to be able to be grateful and content and joy-filled where we are. Sometimes I feel that when we finally reach a goal, there is contentment with that. But that, for me, slowly fades away until my mind's going to the next goal and the next contentment, because I am looking at my state of happiness, and I'm putting that happiness and attaching that happiness on material things, on things. When we finally reach our goal, the contentment with that doesn't last long before we set up other milestones, because we have attached all that to our houses, to our jobs, to losing weight, stopping smoking. We need to learn to be content with what we have. If we content when we have a lot, and learn to be content when we don't have a lot. Content if we work in maintenance, or content when we're in management. It is that control. I've got that steering wheel. It starts right here. It's learning that joy and that happiness is something that we have to always go for. That discontentment and those valleys we get in, we feel like we have to endure. Hey, Allison, gosh, I haven't seen your name in a while. Welcome in the house. But the thing is to refocus our minds and to try to stay right here and be content where we are in the seasons that we are in. And that's not, this is not to say that I'm telling you to stay content in the valley. It means that when we are in that valley, is that we try to, in that valley, find that grace, find that happiness, find that joy in that valley. Because these are like seasons in our life. Right now, it can't always be like this in this sunny and spring and just gorgeousness, because we recognize that one of the things that we can't change are these seasons. So from winter to spring to summer, and summer to fall. And it's, the analogy of we moved out in the country not too long ago, and I've always had a little garden, but we've got a big garden now. And I kind of had this aha moment when we were working in the garden, because there's stages before we can reap the benefits of the garden. Like the stages in our life, like the seasons in our life, we have to first plot out where we want the garden. We have to plow it, and we have to make it fertile or make the little mounds, or I don't know a lot about sports or gardening, but I'm learning. But I'm thinking that there's so much work that we have to do to that plot of land to grow. I can't reap it just yet. It's not the season. So we tilled the garden. We dug it up and made beautiful beds. And then we chose the plants that we wanted to put in. So we went to the store and buy the plants. And so we've planted them in the garden. And then we nurture that. We water it. We, if the weather drastically changes, we cover them up. But as life and peaks and valleys are, I know once I plant that garden that tomorrow I'm not going to be able to reap the products of it. But what I can do is sit out there and enjoy the ability to dig in it and feel the earth and the beauty of watching something we put in the ground grow, and the responsibility of watering it and taking care of it and protecting it. That I've been able to find contentment and joy in being part of that, knowing it's a process. But I know that with each of these processes or valleys I'm in, I learn the beauty of it and the excitement of watching and looking outside and manifesting it. It's growing. I have two little granddaughters that are they're 2.5, 1.5, and we're bringing them into this process and teaching them to watch the beauty, watch the birds around there. When we dig up worms and find out, and take a look at that, it's taking the moment and enjoying what we have in the moment. We can learn to be content, need to learn to be content with whether we drive a 30-year-old car or a brand new 2021 vehicle, whether we have a little apartment or we have this massive house. Because with every goal achieved and every milestone we meet, even wanting and getting those bigger and better things that we think are going to make us happy and content, they're all going to be burdens with that too. If I get a newer vehicle, there's far more maintenance on it and insurance. If I go from a smaller house to a bigger house, there's so much more, it's more expensive to heat. It's bigger to clean. There's lots more to take care of and maintain. We can possibly live very, very frustrated if we stay in always wanting more, wishing we had bigger, wishing we had better, wish we had shinier, and we forget the beautiful spot of being happy where we are right now. We're in a stage of our life that lots of things can be very frustrating, very challenging. And that's where I feel like we're always looking and always searching for something that we feel makes it better for us, which is okay. Because we always want to be achieving and working towards positive goals. But this is the only life that we have. It's a gift every day. We can't trade it in. We can't become someone else. We can come up with thousands of reasons to be unhappy. For some reason or another, our brain goes there. It is easier to say something negative and to go to that unhappiness and what's not right, what's not working. Because if you took a piece of paper and I said, draw a line in the middle, and I'll tell you to write everything that's good going on with your life and everything that is frustrating or challenging or bad going on with your life, you're probably going to be more inclined to list all of the bad and unhappy stuff, because that's the way our comfort zone, that's the way our brain goes to. But the shift happens. What I want us to do is start concentrating on moving that and concentrating on what makes us happy right now. We have a choice to be content where we are. We have a choice to be happy and joyful where we are. I think that we need to shift our focus on what's going on right and good and positive in your life, no matter how small or minute that may be. That's the beginning of shifting your brain, and all of the your brain it's a phenomenal part of our body. It is the main motherboard of our body. And if we can reprogram it, so to speak, and change our mindset and shift it to a more positive lens, then it helps us not live as frustrating and not in such discontent with our life. But this is something that we have to work on. This is nothing, I go back to the analogy of driving a car, is that I have to do something in this vehicle to make it go. I can't just sit there, not right now, and say, drive me to the store. Because it doesn't work like that. I have to make a conscious effort of cutting the car on, putting on my seatbelt, knowing where I'm going. So there's a conscious decision that we do a lot with the mechanical parts of our life and our houses and whatever in our appointments right now. But this is that subconscious of making that change in our brain. And it doesn't happen overnight. And depending on what your life circumstances and depending on your mood and where you are, becomes harder and more difficult to be able to pull out of those simple things that bring you joy, because we forget that when we are in our valley. We may be in a difficult time right now. There's going to be difficulty in our life. It is not going to be very linear. Our life is going to be just like that, because in reality, that is not how life works. The challenge of it is to recognize that we know that life is going to happen. Situations, difficulties, frustrations, tragedies, and traumas are going to come up. What we need to do is build our power of our resilience and our strength to be able to cope with it. You may not need it today, but that doesn't mean you're not going to need it tomorrow. I think sometimes we get so caught up in as soon as I buy my house, I'll be happier. As soon as I get a bigger place to live, as soon as I get a nicer car. I think that we keep chasing that joy and that contentment and that happiness because we are looking outside of ourselves and that responsibility on material things and people, and we're looking to them to bring us joy and to bring us happiness, when ultimately, again, I'm in the driver's seat of myself. I can't put the happiness responsibility in your pocket because that's not fair to you, because that challenges your own happiness. I read something the other day that I thought that was really cool that brings this point home. Is sometimes you might feel a moment or two of happiness, right? Contrary to popular opinion, however, this is not because your desire was fulfilled, but because you took attention off what you didn't have. The moment you switch gears and return your focus of attention to something else you want or you don't have, you'll lose your sense of well being and feel discontent. Your mind again will begin searching and searching for something outside of itself to gain satisfaction, perpetuating the cycle of unhappiness. Happiness is a state of mind. It is not a set of circumstances. It is something that we have to work on is maintaining it. We can't keep chasing it. If we look at happiness and that joy outside of us, we will continue to chase it. We will continue to be discontent. There may be a level of time where you're going, I am so happy I got that brand new car. It's great. I love it. And then the newness wears off on it. And then what else am I going to be searching for? Discontentment can follow you anywhere, everywhere, until you get what truly makes you happy, what truly brings you joy, until you can understand that for yourselves. We are going to be on that cycle of never really truly being happy. Are you happy? What makes you happy? The real joy in life for me are the simple things. Even after that you are in such a valley that you have pitched your tent in there, we have to do everything that we can within our arsenal of resilience and power to find and look for the simple things in life. And they're out there. It's changing the lens and refocusing out of our own head and refocusing on enjoying the simple things. I love to sit on my porch during a rainstorm. I love the sounds of a rainstorm. I love the smells of the rain. I love the tranquility and the serenity that water brings me. That's simple, and that brings me joy. I love the simple things of just pure and simple laughing with somebody. That deep, hearty laugh that is just hysterical. That's a simple joy. I love watching our work is catty corner to a daycare. And sometimes when I get so caught up in Bunny's world and Bunny's mind and everything I've got going on, sometimes I stop and I watch these kids play. And as simple as their life is, of swinging on swings, running and chasing and playing tag, and what joy that brings them, and joy that brings me as well. Living out in the country now, when I go out at night, when it's clear, the vividness of stars, I love to just go out there and look up, and the simple things. So it's reflecting on the simple things that make us happy and fill us with joy, and it strengthens up us when we get to those valleys of our life. We'll never get to a place in our life where there's not going to be struggles. where there's not going to be conflict, where there's not going to be problems. We're in reality. And to think that, you're happy today because today's a good day, then tomorrow may change. And sometimes what I do is, even when I set that goal, I get that goal, something good happens, and I struggle with enjoying and reveling in that. And I struggle and think, is the shoe going to drop? And so I have to pull myself and say, just for the moment, just for right now, let me enjoy this, allowing myself to enjoy it instead of worrying about the other shoe's going to drop. And I don't know who else does that, but I do that. And I take away from even enjoying the accolades of the goal I met, or what I just bought, or the deal I got. I take away from that. And so I sincerely can't even enjoy it then, because my brain's going. I don't know why we always say it's too good to be true. Isn't that okay? Can it be good? Can we allow things to be good and enjoy it and embrace it? It's the simple things. We wait so much for our lives to change, or something to change, or a situation changes, that we lose the pure and simple focus of enjoying the beauty and the happiness of that particular moment. Instead of living in frustration and discontent, embrace where we are. Be grateful for what we have. Let's focus on the now, which sometimes we have a hard time doing, is focusing on the now. Because we think about there and we think about over there, but it's focusing on now. But, a lot of times I like to dive in deep about statistics. And when you're talking about happiness and joy and positive and contentment, I like to find out what happens in your body that makes some people appear to be more happy. What makes that up in our bodies? And I found that what determines our happiness is 50% of it is our genetics. 50%. That's half of what determines our happiness. It suggests that about half of our propensity for happiness is inherited. What else determines our happiness? It's 40% is the behavior. Much of our ability to be happy is governed by our own choices, such as exercising, socializing, making the positive changes for us. So that's behavior. That is what we have control over. The genetics, not so much, but the behavior. And then 10% is of the circumstances, the differences in external factors such as income, beauty, stuff like that. So what determines our happiness? 50% of it came from our genetics, but 40% of it is our behavior. Roberta, a visit from her middle son, and visit, lots of hugs and kisses. Oh, that's beautiful. That's your joy. And sounds like that you just took the moment as it was. I like that, Allison. I picture happiness as a plateau, and we're impacted by these peaks and events in real time. Every day makes you gauge your resilience, which is so powerful. Some things that can help us maintain our joy is, first and foremost, let's make happiness one of our goals. You got finances, you got health, you got education, you got whatever. But I think if we really truly set happiness as our goal, that continues to get us forward thinking. But know what makes you happy. Know what makes your heart skip. Be in your zone and identify what really and truly makes you happy. And sometimes you know what? We don't know what really makes us happy. Because for me, it's always been that perpetual next step. I'll be happy when, until I kind of stopped and said, I'm responsible for my own happiness, but what is happy to me? And it's to identify what makes you happy. Just reflecting on things that make you come alive. And it doesn't have to be a physical thing. It may be that you enjoy socializing. Maybe you enjoy helping. Maybe it's taking a walk. I don't know. Only you know what makes you happy. And that is, I think if you want to line these up to what's more, I think first of all, before making happiness your goal, let's find out what makes us happy. And let's prioritize it. Let that be what we think about every day, how we steer our car, what do we listen to, what do we want the temperature to be. And we talked about savoring the small things. Sometimes on a day where things seem to be chaotic, or you're struggling, or life is just not good, is try your hardest to focus on the small things that you're grateful. Focus on what you have instead of what you don't have. Focus on the simple things. Focus on hearing somebody's laugh. Call a friend that you know that is in your arsenal to make you laugh. And be mindful of your time. Don't always give your time away. Make yourself a priority. Make your joy a priority. And look at that. I'm reading this. Think happy thoughts. Yeah. We can't think ourselves into being happy, but we can think of positive things, happy moments in our life, and that shifts our mood. And when our mood shifts, it shifts all of the cool stuff in our brain that changes, and the trajectory of some of our thought processes is something that we don't arbitrarily going to wake up and just let life happen. We have to take that control and the choices of what we want to think about. Sometimes you want to find purpose in what makes you happy. And sometimes that we need a kind of a backup plan, just in case something happens, because it is life and it is reality, and shift happens. And sometimes you just want to go off the grid. Shut the technology down. Shut the news down. And do some searching within yourself. Get to know yourself. Do some journaling. Get to know you. And take time to have fun. Find out what fun and happy is for you. Because we are the sole control mechanisms for what happens in our attitude and our contentment and our joy in life. And it's something that you have to work at all the time. Because sometimes it's easy to go to that comfort zone of wah, because it's easier. We've lived there a lot longer, and it's more work to shift us back to where we need to be, to enjoy the simple things in life, to be content where we are. Remember, I planted that garden. I'm not going to get stuff out of that garden till the end of summer, but it's okay because I'm enjoying the process and enjoying that I will be reaping the benefits. What I want to I love my comments every day choosing. Y'all know that's my favorite word is choice. Choice. We have choices. There's things outside of our sphere of influence, but there's a heck of a lot of stuff within our sphere of influence that we can control. It starts when you first wake up. Grab a hold of that. Don't let your mind wander. Bring it in. You choose what you want to think of. You choose what kind of day it's going to be. Set that temperature. Set that thermostat. It's up to you. Oh, Allison, you got a garden. We'll have to talk about gardens. But I so appreciate you guys being in here with me today. I wanted to end on a beautiful poem that I saw by Gilda Radner. Depending on your age, you know who she is. But if you don't know who she is, she was one of the original comedians, actresses on Saturday Night Live. And she was married to Gene Wilder, and she had an aggressive cancer and died too early. But I came across this, which I thought it would be really cool to shut this class down. And she writes, I wanted a perfect ending. Now I've learned the hard way that some poems don't rhyme, and some stories don't have a clear beginning, middle, and end. Life is about not knowing, having to change, taking the moment and making the best of it without knowing what's going to happen next. Delicious ambiguity. So I leave you today with joy, 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 joy down in your heart. You choose happiness. You choose joy. Look for the simple things and focus on your contentment where we are right now. Share love, be love, show love. Have a great day. Bye.